welcome to NASCAR Coast to Coast presented by Whelen Engineering, also brought to you by Hercules Tire here on the Motor Racing Network. I'm Hannah Newhouse, joined each and every week by my co-host Kyle Rickey as we bring you all of the news across short track racing, not only in the United States, but also cross country and cross world. But this weekend, the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour finally opens up their 2021 campaign by a return to the Martinsville Paperclip on Thursday. And Kyle, this is a highly anticipated return for the Modifieds.
And it is, because fans have been asking for this. Teams have been asking for this for about a decade now. The last time the Modifieds raced at Martinsville Speedway, 2010, and Clay Campbell, the president of Martinsville Speedway, says one of the biggest requests, or the most requests that he has gotten in the last decade, is bring the Modifieds back to Martinsville. And not only is he doing that, but he's going to do it under the lights this Thursday night. Going to be a great race. It always is when the Modifieds go to Martinsville. It was a staple on the Modified Tour schedule back from 1960 to 2011. There might have been a short break in there in the mid-2000s, but other than that, Modifieds have raced there a bunch, usually twice a year, and I hope this starts a new tradition this Thursday.
Yeah, this season consists of 14 events for the Tour. Again, starting off this Thursday with Martinsville, closing at the end of September 25th at Stafford for the first time in a while, usually closing their season at World Series at Thompson. So a definite change up in the schedule. We'll talk to touring director Jimmy Wilson about that a little bit later, as well as talking about some more Martinsville stuff. But 40 drivers on the entry list for the race this Thursday. Stout field filled with regulars, past champions, and even some wild cards that are stepping down for yet another Tour start.
Including the last three champions, or is it the last four? It might be the last four Modified Tour champions. Obviously, Justin Bonsignore's there, the winner of the last two of the last three championships. Doug Coby, a six-time champion. Before those two took a stranglehold on the Tour back in 2013, it was Ryan Preece, and he's coming back after testing there. Of course, Preece full-time for JTG Doherty Racing in the NASCAR Cup Series. Going to run some modified races this year, including on Thursday night. Ron Silk, a former champion, is there. You have Ronnie Williams, a track champion up in the Northeast. And some guy named Ryan Newman, who likes to dabble in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour as well when he is able to. He's on the entry list, 40 strong. Going to be an incredible race. A lot of good mix with southern teams and northern teams. I saw Jeff Bolts on the entry list, a full-bodied guy for the most part. Hasn't made a whole lot of modified starts, but he's from down south and will be there Thursday as well. So going to be a great show.
Yeah, definitely a lot of rich history in Martinsville and modified racing. That, again, the Virginias is for lovers, 200 on Thursday. And if this is the first race of you, if as a fan visiting for the weekend, a little confusion. Again, 200 laps. There are going to be live pit stops, but a little bit different than what you're going to see the rest of the weekend with NASCAR's National Series, as their pit stops, while live, they're not allowed to take fuel and tires at the same time. So they're going to have to strategize that differently. May throw some fans off, but it's definitely an exciting rule that has been tossed into the modified series just in the last couple years. But again, we're going to go over some more of those rules and things that you can expect to see not only at Martinsville, but in the 2021 season when we take a quick break and dial up Jimmy Wilson after the break.
Whelen Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, designs and manufactures reliable and powerful warning lights. Whelen also produces white illumination lighting, sirens, controllers, and high-powered warning systems for automotive, aviation, and mass notification industries worldwide. Every part of every Whelen product is proudly designed and manufactured in America and is tested on-site to meet the toughest industry certifications. Whelen Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, trusted to perform since 1952.
Citywide to countryside, whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules has the value, selection, and industry-leading warranty to get you there no matter where the road takes you. Go to HerculesTires.com. There you can find the nearest authorized Hercules retail location to you. Plus, you can use the tire tracker to find out which Hercules tire fits your vehicle the best. That's HerculesTires.com. Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
Welcome back to NASCAR Coast to Coast here on the Motor Racing Network. The 2021 NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour schedule opens up this Thursday at Martinsville Speedway, and we're joined now by Series Director Jimmy Wilson. First off, Jimmy, thanks so much for joining us here on NASCAR Coast to Coast.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Your guys' season opens up this Thursday at Martinsville, a return and a much anticipated return at that, not only the racing for the modifieds after the 2020 that you guys had, but also to get back to Martinsville Speedway. What's the excitement going into this week's event?
Oh, it's unmatched. I mean, to go back to Martinsville Speedway with the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, it being the first race of the season, where you could say you're opening up, with the modifieds with your Daytona 500 this year. It's going to be it's definitely going to be a great weekend. We've got an awesome field of cars coming down. We're a year removed. This should have happened a year ago, and unfortunately it didn't. So it just adds to the level of anticipation for everybody involved, and it's going to be a great night Thursday night.
You posted on your Facebook page a couple of weeks ago why fans should take note of the modifieds, why teams should take note of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour this year. A lot of great programs for 2021 with a great schedule, as you mentioned a moment ago. It looks like the message was delivered. 40 cars entered for this Thursday night's race. That's pretty amazing.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's just so much that the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour has to offer. There's a lot of things I believe that's expected that people just they forget what's there and what's available. So between our contingency sponsorship, paying well over $220,000 in the point fund last year, all in, the vast majority of our races paying over $10,000 to win. The media coverage, is second to none for modified. You can watch every one of our races live on Track Pass. And then every one of our races this year is televised on a tape delayed basis with NBCSN. There's no other modified series out there that can offer all of this in one package to our competitors and our fans. It's unmatched. So I'm glad that the people noticed it, and I'm glad that we're sharing this information because it's something that folks need to know about and follow us. Well, I'm probably biased, being the Whelen Modified Tour director, but it's some of the best racing out there.
Yeah, as someone who comes from the West Coast and it came from Fender racing, basically, I had a relatively recent introduction to the tour within the last 6 years or so, and I will agree with you. It is some of the best racing that I've seen, the personalities as well that come out of the tour. But 2020, we talked about it a little bit, was a rough season, whether you guys were juggling venues and how to be able to race. And 2021 has a mix-up of a schedule, as you mentioned, including new venues. You're riding Richmond back, Riverhead, Oswego, Beach, and Lancaster. How did the conversation for these changes come about?
Well, 2020 really mixed up a lot of things. Obviously, there's a lot of promoters and folks that have had to take a different look at what they're doing and how they're doing things. And in the meantime, we've had a lot of conversations going with other venues because it makes sense to diversify the schedule for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, to grow the geographic footprint. When you look back at the series schedule over the years back into the 80s, it was nothing for the tour to run 29, 30 races. When you talk to guys like Jamie Tomeno, that's been around for a while and being North Carolina one weekend, and then a few days later being somewhere up in the Northeast at a Stafford or someplace like that. And things are different today, but to make sure that you get that footprint and be able to take care of your sponsors and get out there, you've got to expand that geographic area. So it's great that we're going back to Martinsville and Richmond and being companion races to the National Series. It's great to get back into the state of Maine. Everyone says that the Whelen Modified Tour is a Northeast-based series. Well, Maine is a state in the Northeast. We need to be there. We need to be in upstate New York. So, you check the box with Lancaster. We got Jennerstown last year. So, we're back in the state of Pennsylvania. So by the same token with all that, you still have to balance that in a smart way with your teams because, the modified tour is made up of working people that have Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 jobs that depend on their vacation time. So we have to be smart about it. And I believe we have. in the number of races and the dates that we've selected, but we got to get out to some of these other venues like we are, and I think we got a great schedule lined up for 2021.
How did, well, I don't need to get too specific as far as the business stuff is concerned, but getting Martinsville back on the schedule, Clay said in a press conference last week, I know you were there at the test session, that he's gotten probably more requests to get the modifieds back at Martinsville in the last 10 years than anything else. So did he come to you and say, all right, all these fans have spoken. Many of the teams I know have gone to you and said, we need to get back to Martinsville. So, all right, now seems like the best time to do this, right? Or I guess last year was probably the best time to do this.
Yeah, it was both. I've said before that when I got the NASCAR Whelen Southern Modified Tour back in 2011 and came on board with NASCAR, I heard it from the Southern teams, got the Whelen Modified Tour in 2013. I've heard it from our teams. Got to get back to Martinsville, got to get back to Richmond. And every year we've knocked on the door, we've had the conversation. And for one reason or another, it hasn't worked, whether it's scheduling, logistics, whatever. It just hasn't worked. And finally for 2020, it clicked. And, it was a good feeling, if there was a good feeling in 2020, knowing that, okay, well, we lost it this year. We'll go back next year. We'll have Martinsville in 2021. And then all of a sudden Richmond came into play for this year. It's like, all right, perfect. We've got both of them. So, it's a big deal to get both of them and still have our date at New Hampshire and other places. So, to answer your question, it was just a little bit of both and finally everything lined up for both of us.
It's definitely shaping up to be an exciting season, both from the schedule standpoint and the racing action. I know we're looking forward to watching that, but I have to ask you, Jimmy, we here on NASCAR Coast to Coast always look forward to interviewing the drivers and the personalities that are within the modified tour, because to be quite honest with you, they're unmatched. You've got some personalities and some drivers that are out of the box, but they're so much fun to be around. As the series director, what is that rapport like working with some of these guys that have been around the series for quite some time?
Oh, it can get interesting at times. No doubt about it. But the really cool thing is we have a garage area that's very diverse with backgrounds and what people do for a living and their approach at the sport. But the one thing that we all have in common is the love of the modifieds and the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. And everybody, even though they may have a different opinion of a path we should go down or whatnot, the good thing is everyone's got the best interest of the series in mind. And that's probably one of the more gratifying things, that I can go and have a conversation, with any of these folks, whether it's a driver, a crew chief, a car owner, and, get some good solid answers, from that standpoint, and work together and deliver a product, again, that's second to none to our race fans when we get to the racetrack and they hear that command.
When the race finishes up at the Martinsville Speedway in just a couple of nights from now on Thursday, the teams will prepare for the Spring Sizzler at the Stafford Motor Speedway, another track that has been with the tour for a long time. Pretty cool to crown a champion there in 2021 for I guess the first official time.
Yeah, I guess so. When you look back in the history of it, I believe the only other time that's happened is on a rain out or postponement or not. It's definitely going to be neat. The Root family does a great job with their promotions around everything with the racetrack there, and I'm sure they will probably have something very interesting up their sleeve, to crown the champion. So it will definitely be a good time to do that there at Stafford.
Yeah, Stafford's one of those ones that I always feel like I loop in with the modified tour personalities. You never know what they're going to post on Twitter or what's coming next. Definitely entertaining. And last question here for you on things that have changed also in 2021. You guys have got a new face as the tech director. Rick McConney retired, Dave Farrell stepping into that role, but he's been with the tour for quite some time.
Yeah, Dave's been with us for quite some time, as you said. He's actually been on the Whelen Modified Tour longer than what I have. He brings a wealth of knowledge with his background in short track racing and motorsports, and He's from the upstate New York area, so he's no stranger to modified racing. He's got a really good rapport with the competitors. The good thing with Rick, he's not totally going away. He's stepping back a little bit, but we still have all of his knowledge that we can still lean on. And I believe we got a great officiating staff and a wealth of experience to offer our competitors this year from that standpoint with the way that we've gone about doing this. This has been something that's been in the works now for a couple of years. And, Dave's been working very close with Rick. So I think our competitors are going to see a very seamless transition.
Perfect. Well, again, yep, go ahead, Kyle.
One more very, very serious question here. How has all this COVID stuff affected your Disney trips?
I knew he was
know
going
you and
there.
You're a big Disney fan. I'm a big Disney fan. Have you been able to go since it all started?
No,
same here.
We haven't. It's been very disappointing. There's not a week that goes by that my wife or I, doesn't say, God, I miss Disney. It's been 6 months. Of course, now it's been a year. We were down there and we ran the half marathon in the end of February last year, and that was the last time we were there. So, yeah, we're suffering from withdrawals.
As am I.
Oh, man. And while Kyle acts like he has it tough, what fans don't know right now is Kyle's at an indoor water park actually recording this episode. So the tough life of Kyle Rickey continues. But Jimmy, again, thank you so much for taking some time. We look forward to watching the race on Thursday, as well as continuing to watch all of it this 2021 season.
It's always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Again, guys, that was Jimmy Wilson, the series director for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. And to continue the trend, we're going to take a quick break. But when we return, we've got your Whelen Engineering NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour driver spotlight.
Whelen Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, designs and manufactures reliable and powerful warning lights. Whelen also produces white illumination lighting, sirens, controllers, and high-powered warning systems for automotive, aviation, and mass notification industries worldwide. Every part of every Whelen product is proudly designed and manufactured in America and is tested on-site to meet the toughest industry certifications. Whelen Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, trusted to perform since 1952.
Sir, are you aware you were going 40 miles an hour? This is a residential area.
Sure, but I'm on my lawnmower? Wait, am I getting a ticket?
No, I've just never seen anyone top 9 miles an hour on one of those bad boys. And mow their entire lawn in 30 seconds? What got into you?
Well, it did fuel up at Sunoco this morning.
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. We've been doing it for American racing for over 50 years. Fuel your best.
This week's NASCAR Whelen Engineering Modified Spotlight focuses on Thursday night's NASCAR season opener for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour and its return to the famed Martinsville Speedway in Virginia. The half-mile paperclip oval was a staple for the Modifieds for over 40 years, beginning in 1960, often racing there twice a season with the Dogwood 500 in the spring and the Cardinal 500 in the fall. Virginia driver and early modified standout Ray Hendrick has the most wins at Martinsville with 13, while NASCAR Hall of Famer Richie Evans has 10 checkered flags there. And perhaps none more exciting than the Dogwood 500 in 1981, 40 years ago, as heard here on MRN.
Move. Jeff Bodine just saw his lead slide away. Richie Evans is loose down in turn number 1, but he's got the lead, and Bodine is loose up out of turn number 2 in the backstretch for the last time.
3 car lengths down to 2, down to 1. Bodine comes charging. Evans goes a high groove higher. Off the turn, sideways goes Evans. Here comes Bodine. They bump. Bodine is in the wall. Evans high on the wall. He crosses the line first.
6-time series champion Doug Coby.
Martinsville and modifieds are synonymous. I mean, you have one of the most iconic photos of all time with Jeff Bodine and Richie Evans. That kind of stuff in terms of the history is super important. But I kind of like when we go to tracks like this and then we have a little bit of a break from being there because it regenerates the excitement of the tour coming back.
It's been 11 years since the tour last raced there in 2010. Bobby Santos III won on that afternoon, driving the famed Mystic Missile for longtime car owner Bob Garbarino. Finishing second that day, two-time and defending Tour champion Justin Bonsignore.
I'm looking forward to it. I was able to go there my rookie year and run second, so it's been always wanted a chance to go back and try and win a grandfather clock. So we're really excited, and we hope that this becomes a yearly event. And, on top of that, we're kicking our season off there, which is just even bigger, I feel, for us.
Bonsignore is looking to add his name to the impressive Martinsville win list that includes the likes of Mike Stefanik, Jeff Fuller, Reggie Ruggiero, Charlie Jerzambek, Bugsy Stevens, and current NASCAR Cup Series driver Ryan Preece. Here, the Virginia is for racing lovers' 200 season opening event for the NASCAR Whelen Modifieds this Thursday night from the Martinsville Speedway, beginning at 8 p.m. Eastern Time here on the Motor Racing Network.
Whelen Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, designs and manufactures reliable and powerful warning lights. Whelen also produces white illumination lighting, sirens, controllers, and high-powered warning systems for automotive, aviation, and mass notification industries worldwide. Every part of every Whelen product is proudly designed and manufactured in America and is tested on-site to meet the toughest industry certifications. Whelen Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, trusted to perform since 1952.
Well, it's hard to believe that it's already April here in 2021, which means short tracks all over the country have either opened or pretty much opened this past weekend, with a lot of short track racing action taking place. Out on the West Coast, Madera hosted yet again their junior late model division, with Jacob Smith taking the win. And in the late model was Bubba Nascimento getting his first win. Houston Motorsports Park runs a select schedule. Their Pro Trucks ran this past weekend, with Jake Wright taking the win over Anthony Monroe and David Webster. Havasu opened as well, with Street Stocks lining their feature event. It was Kylie Jacks over Jeremy Rosacco and Don Zoll. And Lonesome Pine opened as well, limited late model division. Keith Helton over Gobble Josh and Lance Gatlin. Dominion opened up with late models and Landon Pemberton, Doug Barnes, and Connor Jones. And Hickory hosted the much anticipated Easter Bunny 150, but they hosted both the Easter Bunny 150 2020 and 2021, being a doubleheader both on Friday and Saturday, where Derek Griffith proved once again he's one of the best late model racers in the country right now, sweeping both of those events. A lot of racetracks opened up again. South Boston had the Smart Modifieds this past weekend, Ryan Preece taking that win, and in the late model it was Trey Cruz. A lot more going on across the country, Kyle.
Yeah, it's nice to see these tracks finally opening up, and apparently a great crowd at South Boston Speedway this past weekend. I got several text messages from folks that were there saying this place, for what they're allowed. Obviously, Virginia still has some restrictions, as does every state for the most part. Really good car count, really good crowd on hand, and a pretty decent race with Ryan Preece picking up the win. New Smyrna Speedway, they continue to run. They ran some Enduros last week. Brad May, the last winner there in the late models a couple of weeks ago. They're back in action this week for a 50-lap modified event. I think you mentioned Langley Speedway. Brendan Queen picking up the opening night win over Mark Wirtz. They're back in action this Saturday night. And we talked to Jeff Striegel a couple of weeks ago. He's excited about his season opening icebreaker on April 17th at Berlin Raceway. They had an open practice last week, and they'll have another open practice this week in preparation of that event.
Yeah, and we've talked about it, the Modifieds again this Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. You can watch it on Track Pass or listen on the Motor Racing Network. And also this upcoming weekend, Cars 2 are back in action, headed down to Greenville Pickens. Both the late model stock division and the super late model division will be combining forces with the Southern Super Series. So pretty good set of entries on slate for the Cars Tour this weekend. Kyle, I know I'm excited to watch this upcoming weekend with the Modifieds. I'll, of course, be in Greenville Pickens. Am I safe to just guess you'll probably be at Stafford?
No, not yet. They're getting ready for an open practice in 2 weeks. But I have some go-kart racing this weekend at a track called the Pomfret Speedway, another track in which I cut my teeth on 20 years ago. They asked me if I wanted to come back if I was in town. I'm in town, so I'll be there for opening day this Sunday. So that should be a good time.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much to Jimmy Wilson for coming on and hanging out with us to talk some Martinsville and Modifieds. And thank you to the fans for joining us today here on NASCAR Coast to Coast. We hope you'll get out and support your local short track and drivers however you can. And we'll catch you guys next week to cover all of the racing action here on NASCAR Coast to Coast.